call me Roy.
Hi, welcome to Roy's Book Reviews.
And welcome to Roy's Book Reviews.
Hi, welcome to Roy's Book Reviews. In this video, I am going to share my thoughts about two books. One read recently, one read quite a few years ago. One written for adults, one written for children. The first one is King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby, an author who is on a bit of a hot streak. I'm assuming based on the number of times I've seen his books being recommended and raved about. The other is a book you may not have heard of, even though it was published quite a few years ago. I'd never heard of it at the time that I read it aloud to my daughter, but I did enjoy it, as did she. The title is Penny Dreadful by Laurel Snyder, illustrated by Abigail Halpin. So let me get to it. King of Ashes is chock full of action. A dangerous, high-stakes situation is established with the plot, and author S.A. Cosby grabs readers' attention and their curiosity to learn how it'll play out and who will survive to the book's final page. The quality of prose is sufficiently polished to keep the pages turning, but full disclosure, I did find myself eye-rolling on a few occasions over lines of dialogue or internal thoughts that rang false to me. Call me picky. King of Ashes is an easy read that reminds us over and over again that everything burns. The narrator/protagonist has noble intentions. Roman wants to protect his perpetual screw-up brother and their sister, to keep them from being killed on account of his brother Dante's clueless recklessness. For Dante is far more successful at being a user of drugs than a competent dealer of them. Roman finds himself, upon return to his hometown, having to deal with various unsavory characters. Being that he is one man, technically two men since Roman has a proficient gun for hire at his disposal, up against an entire criminal organization, outgunning them isn't an option. He must instead dismantle by outsmarting them, which needs to be done from the inside. Roman's moral code weakens by the day, so that by the time he reaches the end of his master plan, it's less a triumph of good over evil than it is one form of evil defeating another. Roman's evil deeds are of the necessary variety, presented as a selfless attempt to keep his family safe from harm, rather than out of greed or cruelty. He isn't a character that we grow especially fond of, even though he does garner sympathy for the loss of his mother years earlier. Like many residents of the town they grew up in, a town Roman has left behind, unlike his father and siblings, Roman's sister suspects that their mother's death was at the hands of their father in response to her adultery. Disposing of the body would not be problematic, since the family-owned and run business is a crematory. Everything burns, except for memories that haunt. Roman is a flawed man, but his single-minded focus on keeping his brother and sister alive is a compelling trait. Their mother is gone and their father is in a coma, from which he may not emerge. Keeping the remainder of their fragile family intact is powerful motivation. I'll be sure to give another S.A. Cosby novel I'll read at some point down the line. If the rest of them are paced similarly to King of Ashes, I'm sure that I will fly right through them. I had never heard of the book Penny Dreadful or its author, Laurel Snyder, before deciding to give it a shot as bedtime reading for my 6-year-old daughter, who's now my 19-year-old daughter. So this is a review from a book read quite a few years ago. If I'm doing the math right, that would be 13 years. The illustrator of Penny Dreadful is Abigail Halpin. From the cover copy, I saw that Penny Dreadful shared traits with books that we had read to my daughter so far, such as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Holes and Half Magic. Each of these books feature young protagonists and the element of magic. The twist in Penny Dreadful is that by the end, we're not certain if magic ever really played a part in what took place, or if certain critical events were instead the result of chance. Did Penny wish things into being, or did they coincidentally take place shortly after she wished for them? With Penny being such a vague wisher, asking for improved circumstances rather than for something specific to change them with, we can't be 100% sure. The story took a little while to get going in the eventful sort of manner that children typically enjoy. I thought my little one might grow impatient with the setup and ask for another book, but she remained sufficiently intrigued, so we kept reading. Once Penny and her parents leave the city, as it's called, and move to the interesting house that they have inherited, the narrative picks up steam. In her new home, the formerly rich and sheltered Penny learns the value of friendship and using her inner resources to get by in a world where everything is no longer handed to her on a silver platter. Her feisty best friend Luella is the character my daughter was most amused by and related to best. Her pivotal role is basically to introduce Penny to normalcy and childhood experienced the way it ought to be done, with joy and exuberance and curiosity and daring. Before meeting Luella, Penny knows of adventure through books. After, she finds that no adventure is greater than life itself.